Hello and welcome whilst we make the long trip from Japan to the UK. The Clio Cup Tour rolls into the UK at the iconic Brands Hatch for what's going to be an enthralling and exciting evening of racing. I'm Tim Cox with Sam Fitzpatrick. Sam, we had lots of drama. I mean, mini touring cars, low-powered cars during iRacing. They're always great fun, aren't they? And it was no different last week, was it?
It absolutely was not. So many different drivers competing for both the Pro and the AM race leads. It was competitive throughout. We saw some fantastic wheel-to-wheel racing, and well, let's have a proper recap of everything that went down at Wakayama.
For the first time ever here from Okayama in the Clio Cups, as we are green and we are away, and Redford getting an absolute shocker of a start there, being overtaken by Puddicombe, who's through, and well, up front it's Harris versus Wilson down into turn one as Wilson looks to sneak up through the inside there and squeeze out Harris wide, but here comes Harris fighting back for Wave Italy, and he's going to just about get in front of that. Oh no, and there's contact between the pair of them, and Wilson, well, he came back across the track. There was nothing he could do as he made collision with the barrier.
Will need to take one of their available faster pairs in order to get back out on circuit. Fletcher with better straight line speed, using the slipstream from Veerman, sends it in very deep. I think he's going to miss the corner entirely though. There goes Mark Fletcher.
And it's all about this battle right now, a three-way fight down into the hairpin between the top three in AM, and they've run in a bit too deep. There's Floodman, but it's going to get away with it, and Olsen reclaims the lead in AM. Who's going to come out on top this time? Advantage Floodman, and he's got the move done. He pulls back in front of his teammate.
I think Barber is defending brilliantly right now, but you can't help but feel it's only a matter of time. And here comes Gordon. He hasn't been able to cover off the entire inside line. As Fletcher, well, he's got nightmares from this scenario, really, because he went straight on at this corner earlier on in the race. This time he has stopped it on a dime.
So here we go, onto the brakes. Who's going to be last to the late break? As you can see, those rear discs glowing, and this could be the move. Fletcher swoops down low, but Gordon tries to keep his nose in there, but it's not enough, and Fletcher's got the move done. It is indeed Robin Veerman, your first ever winner here in Apex Racing League Clio Cup, as we are green, and we are away for the second time this evening. Who's going to come out on top? Can the AM hold on to this one? And it's a great start for Floodman. And it's looking good for him. He's going to lead into turn one, and there's contact already.
Madaru off the circuit.
Wide as we come onto the brakes, they even try to make it free wide there in the background, but somehow they all make it through. Well, Veerman, he's managed to squeeze his way past. Oh, and he's been spun around, and it's going to cause a big pile-up.
Madaru off in the background as well. In the background, we've got a change for the lead. Fletcher already onto the back of Flodman, and this is incredible stuff. Yeah, he panics. Yeah, locked the tires, and once that happened, there was absolutely no stopping the car. Malcolm, meanwhile, up to second place out of the amateur drivers. Best of the race.
Let's Puddicombe drivers right. Is he going to run it into the? Oh, what a beautiful switch back there from Kim Baird.
Must have had a mistake somewhere on the lap. As still, oh, huge contact. Once again, you see.
He's lost the lead in AM.
Scott Malcolm leads the way in the AMs.
He will take the victory with a flash of the lights and undoubtedly a weave across the line. There goes Mark Fletcher. Here's your winner in race 2. Well, interesting to see, and that just showcases some of the great action we had last week. I think there can be no different here tonight, is it, whatsoever?
No, I think, yeah, the most positive thing for me was that no one's running away with it. I mean, Robin Veerman was very strong in that race 1. Mark Fletcher, incredibly efficient in race 2 because he was able to go from 8th up to 1st. In fact, actually in race 1 as well, he gained a lot of places himself. But they weren't dominant by any means, and I can see them both struggling to take a race win tonight because there are so many drivers. I mean, you just think of what we saw out in lead, Wilson and Damien Owen Harris crashing from the top 2 places in race 1, and that just wrecked their entire evening. So I think there's 5 or 6 drivers who could take the overall race wins tonight, and that's not even factoring in the reverse grid, which always mixes things up an additional factor.
I think, well, Wilson, as you mentioned him, I think he got back up at something around about 13th, 14th position after, well, you saw what happened, falling off the track completely after that collection with Harris at turn 2 on the opening lap. If those two hadn't have had that incident, do you think they would have just driven away at the front? It's
well, I guess we'll find out tonight if they can continue on that sort of qualifying form that they displayed last week.
Yeah, Damien's looking very good in practice, I must say, for tonight's event. So I would say he's one of the favourites, but yeah, like I said, it's going to be very hotly contested. And in the AMs as well, I mean, we had you know, Scott Malcolm taking the race win in race 2, but again, you know, like Adam Hedgecock could have had a much better round. He's personally my favourite for the amateur championship. Apologies, he's yeah, fighting in that one, and yeah, we'll be trying to kind of bounce back after a little bit of a poor round previous round. So yeah, like it's again just super competitive at the front start.
Oh, it definitely is. And to take you through the format for this evening, of course, it returns to 20-minute races. Of course, qualifying, that's not too far away. Open qualifying 10 minutes out on tracks to try and get your best possible time in there. Before we head across to the two 20-minute races, bit of a tongue twister there. Obviously, for race 2, you mentioned that 10-car inverted grid, Sam. So that fight for 10th, it's going to be even more popular, dare I say, or you know, more competitive compared to what it was last week, as Brands has just got some, but not a massive amount of opportunities, or not definitive ones certainly, compared to Okayama last week.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one where I feel like Okayama is sort of a similar size circuit, a similar number of corners, and yet Okayama is so much cleaner. It's all a straight on the most part, and then a 180-degree corner or a 90-degree corner, whereas Brands Hatch is that much more authentic, where it just carves through, you know, a field pretty much, and so it's, yeah, not easy to make a move. I mean, you've got Druids, but even that one can be very risky, maybe Paddock Hill Bend, but yeah, there's not many opportunities for these guys to make moves, and so the race starts in particular are going to be crucial.
Well, I'll tell you what, Simon, that's probably a really good point to segue into earlier on. A little look at the track and, well, just what we're going to see out on track. We'll see.
Well, it's round 2 for Clio Cup, and what better place to bring the car like this than a British national circuit for me, up there with Alton Park. The full Grand Prix layout here. Going to miss it, not bothering with the Indy circuit, although that would have been quite interesting to see. Sam, you need to do your thing on that one. But of course, Paddock Hill Bend, turn 1. Really tricky for these cars with understeer. Initial turn in a little bit, but most so with the track just really drops down here. You've got this great big gravel trap on the exit as well. There's going to be a few drivers going to have to be really, really cautious of that. And then big braking zone into turn 2. That's where you're going to see most of the action here tonight. And then, who's got the best exit? You can still get a move done into turn 3 if you're clever. Just sneak up the inside, but you've got to be really close out of the previous corner. That then leads nicely into 4. This exit is one of the most crucial exits on the whole of the circuit, because that then leads us down the back straight towards Pilgrim's Drop. This long run, of course, scene of a big accident in the Porsche Cup Series earlier this season. And then Hawthorne Bend, this beautiful swooping right-hander. Again, this gravel trap on the outside here, another place to be wary around Brands Hatch. So easy with these front-wheel drive cars, just to understeer out, lose the front end, have it wash out on you. Into 6, Westfield, another high-speed right-hander around this track. There's so many of them. It's so iconic, this circuit. Then through Dingledale, down into Sheens. Again, a little bit of a bump on the inside, just round about here. That's something you've got to be really careful of, just unsettling car. Bit of a blind entry, then onto the brakes. Use the camber on the inside through turn 8 here, and then it's down Clearways. The run until the final corner. Last lap, that's where it's going to be really interesting for me. You're going to see some desperate drivers get keen to make it some places, try and get it up the inside. It is tricky to do. Turn 8 is your better option, but we know these drivers. They'll give it a good damn go, and I don't doubt that we are in for an absolute epic night of action here.
I mean, you can see why this place is just loved by drivers. Whether, I know we've got a bit of a bias because it is probably one of the, if not the most iconic national circuits within the UK. Obviously taking Silverstone out of the equation because it's more of an international circuit, but I mean, Brands Hatch, it just works on so many levels, and you see why in terms of cars, but you see why it's loved by so many drivers, can't you? And
it's certainly our most visited circuit whenever we're in the studio here, because it's the third time we've visited this circuit in the last, well, at least in 2023, because we visited in GT3s initially, the Porsche Cups a couple of weeks ago, and now into the Clios, which sort of demonstrates how it can be used for a variety of cars. And so, yeah, very nice to be back once again. But I think of all the cars that we've visited so far, or have visited this circuit so far, I think the Clios are the best matched. You know, it's the one where you've got a little bit more space. It is a narrow circuit, so when you're in the GT3s, it can get a bit congested when you're going for overtakes, whereas in these Clios you've got that extra little bit of room due to their smaller size, and so you know, overtaking, like we were saying, tricky, but a lot more possible than we saw in those other vehicles. And
out of interest, why the full GP lap rather than the Indy circuit?
I shouldn't have to justify this one to you, Tim. Let us know in the chat actually which you prefer, the Indy or the GP. The GP is much better. Because it's got some fantastic corners in it. I do agree with you on that point, but it's much more in terms of, oh, here we go, simulation of real life. Test run the Indy, it's a tough one, isn't it? But then, like you say, it's like Britain's version of an oval. I know technically, literally, as the crow flies, about 2 miles in roughly about that direction is Rockingham, and well, you can see how well an oval circuit lasted in the UK, i.e. not a lot longer, and the infield was actually used way more than the oval ever was. But that's the sort of closest thing that we've got to it really in the UK. Yeah, Old Snetterton as well was very good.
Other than historic circuits, that would basically loop around the landing strips.
Pretty much, yeah. But I personally much prefer the Grand Prix layouts. Yeah, we've got some fantastic corners, and it will be fascinating to see how the drivers can navigate through that in the championship. Just one round complete so far. It is a 7-round championship, 13 races. Final race at the Nordschleife is just a one-off, double points, but for the Pro Championship at the moment, Mark Fletcher with that win in race 2 and a 3rd place in race 1, currently at the top of the standings. But it's ever so close. Will Redford there in 2nd place. Jack Golden didn't necessarily have the best pace of anyone, but he managed to really maximise his performances in 3rd. Yeah, it's very early stages, and you see Damien Harris there down in 6th place. I still think he's maybe tied for the favourite for the championship. Honestly, there's plenty of time to come back.
Oh, there is. As you said, so long to go. And actually, you mentioned about the Nordschleife as well, Sam. Different format for that one round, isn't it?
Yeah, just an extended 45-minute race for that one. A few extra points available, but yeah, all these other ones, just the 2 20-minute races for the drivers to negotiate with, which of course, as we were saying earlier on, is what they are dealing with. And of course, we've also got the AM Championship as well, which is available for a few of the lower I-rated drivers in the series, and Joachim Flodman currently at the top of that one. He had a very strong race 1, actually getting reverse grid pole. Didn't go his way. He could have had a big lead if it went for a very late incident for himself, but he has still established himself, I think, as the favourite after one round. He was fantastic last time.
I think you're wholeheartedly right. Definitely one to watch out for. But we've got qualifying well underway right now. I think it's time to get trackside, isn't it, Sam? We're going to head to a quick break now. We will see you shortly on the other side. We'll be live trackside for the remainder of qualifying. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. And qualifying well underway, as I mentioned just before the break. Not long left
at all. Ooh, who is going to come out with pole? Well, I can tell you right now, Damien Harris leading the way. However, top AM driver, well, I was just about to say, is 8th overall. However, just been moved down there, down to 9th right now, is the Italian Andrea Tolasco. Sam, there's a couple of drivers who have got pit lane starts for this one, isn't there? Bring us up to date with who they are.
Yes, they are Damien McMullen and Jack Wilson. Wilson getting a penalty for that lap 1, race 1 incident we saw involving Damien Harris when they collided at turn 2. He was perceived to be at fault for that one, so that's why he's starting from the pit lane, and then Damien McMullen involved in another instance, I believe, near the start of race 2. So they've got some catching up to do. They'll be sitting out of qualifying, and still though, I think certainly Wilson will probably get into the top 10 by the end of the race. McMullen might be a little bit more tricky for him to be able to come back in that one, but I'm sure he won't be too far away.
So we have got, we will have an 18 car grid in 2 minutes time. It's all left in qualifying. I tell you what, Tolasco is really on a flyer, Sam, isn't he? He's moved himself back up to 8th. That is the 4th row of the grid. Next quickest is Scott Malcolm. And, you know, we've got 4 drivers between Tolasco and Malcolm. That's a big buffer if he can hold off those pros.
Yeah, and Tolasco last time out managed to score a round 0 points, and so he really has come out from nowhere. I think he may have had a few issues, obviously, last time out, but the drivers do get a top score. So he needs to start performing well, but this is exactly what he needed right now. And yeah, an 8th position would be quite monumental for him if he could get up in that top 10 for the reverse grid in race 2. Here comes Lloyd Barb, currently 3rd place in the championship after 1 round completed, and he remains in 7th position now, about a 10th slower than his absolute best lap that last time round, and he will not get this one in, because once the 10 minutes is up, that is it. If we were on the Indy circuit like he wants us to beat him, he would have time, but unfortunately he doesn't.
It's only the purest in this, Sam. It's only the purest in real life simulation. But I do agree with you, the GP circuit, as we head down Pilgrim's Drop, just not on board with Connor Gibb right now of No Limit Sim Racing, it's far, far better. It's so great to drive, especially the back end, the Grand Prix part of the circuit here, especially in the track ride. Those big runoff area, well, gravel traps, as much as they are runoff areas, you can't get away with them in the sim. Real life, you really cannot. Even so, trip into them and you will be losing a lot of time. The car looking really on the nose right now. It's looking good from Gibb.
I think he picked up a 1XO earlier on, didn't he?
He did.
So that will be no lap time for him, but he's still punching it around. He's going around lap time anyway. So he's so far from an improvement there. We cannot state enough. I am not much of a patriotic person, Tim, but you know, I'm holding my hand on my chest right now. Top 6, all from our great nation. Congratulations, guys.
Well, putting the great into Great Britain, looking out the first 3 rows of the grid, and here is your grid. Harris on pole with Mark Fletcher, race winner from last time, joining him on the front row. Connor Gibb, who saw at the end of qualifying there, has got Callum Puddicombe alongside him on the second row. Adam Hedgecock is joined by Jack Godden, with Luke Barb and top AM qualifier Andrea Tolasco making it row 4. Row 5 sees Janos Modos and Mikko Kuitunen lining alongside each other around the top 10. That's Kim Haight, Juan Carlos Herrera. Scott Malcolm is joined by Joachim Flodman for a all AM row, and then we have got Jay Walsh and Paul Joseph Clist, with your last complete row being Hans Verheid and Jack Wilson, of course, serving that qualifying band. So that's why he's all registered as all the way down the back with no time against his name. And I can hear a few drivers revving their engines out there, Sam. Oh, you can feel the patriotism, you feel the excitement, the adrenaline pulsating through your veins right now.
Absolutely. Good to see Adam Hedgecock up there in 5th place. I think he qualified about 15th last time out, so a big improvement from Adam. Very much justifying that pro spots, and of course teammates as well with Mark Fletcher. So if you can get a little bit further up, those altitude esports drivers might be able to work together as everyone is set, and we are ready for race 1.
Oh, everyone on the grid. Here come the lights. Let's get ready to go racing for the first time this evening from Brands Hatch, as we are green and we are away. You can see there Harris just lighting up the tyres, but there's someone didn't get away in the background there. That's Hedera. Did not get away, and he's left stranded on the start-finish straight as they make their way through turn 1 here. Hedgecock's not got a good start. He's dropped 2 places. You see him on the right-hand side of the track in the background there. Down in to turn 2 for the first time. Can everybody make it through? Yes, they do. Streak down towards Graham Hill Bend. Harris leads from Fletcher, Gibb, Godden, and Puddicombe in top 5.
And it was Jochen Flodman who was extremely unlucky to have Heredia just sat straight in front of him. That's why he's had to stop the pits. As they move from Jack Godden to move up into third place, he's up 3 places. And once again, Jack really exhibiting his fantastic race car skills that we saw back at Okayama as well. And that is a mega start for him right there. Callum Puddicombe is next up, trying to get past Connor Gibb. Poor start for Hedgecock, but the other Altitude Esports Joe is trying to recover something here, as he's got good pace on the outside. He's not going to be able to do anything as they make contact, and that is going to be spinning back round almost into the path of other drivers. Connor Gibb falling down the order.
Wow, that's really going to split them up right now. And the top 3 are just going to canter away without even trying. Talasco, the AM driver, moves up into 4th place. Keep one eye on Jack Wilson. He's moving up through the field. He's up into 9th now, up an incredible 9 places. We have not even completed 1 lap, as that's Hedgecock off the track.
I think he collided with Puddicombe, so Puddicombe was overtaken by Talasco, ran wide, and I think may have spun back into the path of Hedgecock. That was the mess for those drivers. And now Talasco in 5th place. Barb being able to get through all of that. He's up 3 places from the start. He's up into 4th. And Jack Wilson, who started from dead last, he's up 11 places in 1 lap.
Wow, that is an amazing result. Already up into 7th as it's tight and it's angst up at the front. As here comes, well, we mentioned about him, Wilson up the inside. Can he slot it through? He's giving it a good go right now against Behates. And that is the move done as we look back from Wilson.
Spun round, just in the background, that's what the smoke was.
Well spotted, Sam. Well spotted, but this isn't comfortable for Wilson. Look, I mean, Behates all over his rear end right now, and then it starts off a bit of a trend with Malcolm, Modos, Gridnan as well involved. This is not as clear cut, and I don't think it's going to be quite as comfortable for Wilson as it was making his way through the field past all these other drivers.
Yeah, he'll do well to get... I think he could probably get 4th from here. I don't think he'll get any higher up. 20 minutes. These races a little bit longer than the fixed or the Renault Clear series on iRacing. 15 minutes. It's a fantastic cutback there from Quaisnen. Got the upper hand on Modos to go into Westfield Bend, and he has been able to get past, albeit now Modos is going to respond. And if you can get on the power a little bit earlier than your rival in these cars, it is such an advantage, and it makes cutbacks a real opportunity in these machines. For now, I think Quaisnen is going to be able to consolidate this overtake, and Walsh wasn't able to gain a place from it himself.
View back from Quaisnen right now. Well, that battling does mean that Malcolm has extended a couple of seconds gap over this little gaggle right now, all over 9th place. I say over 9th place, realistically, Clist is only a second behind Puddicombe, so he's still not out of the fight. As down through the field right now, still not done and dusted as Kib and Hedera. So Heredia, apologies, just battling out that one. Over 15th place, scrapping away, means, well, Talasco. That's Wilson. He's caught him incredibly quickly, Sam. He was about a second up the road.
Yeah, that's the advantage he's got. Last lap, 1.2 seconds faster than the Italian driver. And Talasco will know that that's not his fight. He's got Behates and Scott Malcolm as well is not far behind. Malcolm played under the radar, up 5 places from his race start for Ignium Motorsports. And now Wilson's got 2 seconds to catch up to Barb. Barb about a second a lap slower at least on that last lap, so Wilson should be able to catch up there. But yeah, as you see just how much more confidence the Frenchman has over, or apologies, the Brit has over the Italian.
Can he climb any higher? It's going to be hard for him if he can catch up with Barb, because there's a big gap. We're around about 6 seconds between Gordon and Barb right now, so you can say still a cracking start as drivers stream through Dingledale down in towards Sheen here. bouncing the car across the curbs. Gotta love to see it as they head through Stirlings. Meanwhile, Talasco here. Now, after being overtaken by Wilson, Behate is right now turning up the pressure. And for me, the interesting one is not, as we look back from Talasco, it's not Behate who's directly behind us, it's Scott Malcolm, the car behind, because he can sniff a potential win here in class.
Yeah, and Scott Malcolm was 9/10 of a second faster than Talasco that last time round. Talasco was overtaken, remember, by Wilson, as you can see Malcolm with an excellent work. Fantastic to have pretty much that complete. Looking back at the driver, I always add that camera to the car camera packs, even though it's completely useless because you can't actually see anything, you can just see a virtual helmet. But I do like
Talasco.
it. Like wide was Talasco, and he's making a few mistakes after a fantastic qualifying performance. It's starting to crack a bit now for these.
Yeah, just locked up there on the way into Surtees, and that's put him under massive pressure. He's defending to the inside. If Behate can hold his nose right around the outside, and wow, look at that! The long way round gets the move done, does the Belgian driver, up into 6th, and now Malcolm is surely going to be in maximum attack mode. Nothing to lose. He has got time on his side. We've got about, what, some 13 minutes and change left in this race, so as much as he really wants to crank up the pressure on Talasco after he's made those mistakes, Sam, and trying to inflict more damage and trying to capitalise on them, he does have time on his side. He doesn't quite need to rush it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So that is an advantage for him as we catch Outs in the lead. Harris not putting away from Fletcher. Fletcher able to stay in the draft at the moment, but he's not pushing it a whole lot. Is the British driver, and then Gordon, actually the fastest man of the three of them the last couple of laps. He's closed in by about a 10th over the last 2 laps, and he's a second behind those drivers right now, so he should catch them before the end. Once he gets there, as we will have a replay of this start, and it's just a shame that the damage or the contact model on iRacing is very poor for this car, where you got a bit of door banging like that and the cars just bounce off one another like they're basketballs, and that was the teammates colliding there. And honestly, that's Pudicum's fault there. I thought maybe he was completely out of control, but it was him refusing to lift out of the throttle when on the grass, which really let him down.
Just keeping half an eye on the live pictures for you here, Sam, because I tell you what, it is really close in that battle for the lead. As we see Wilson there making his way past Talasco, brilliant move up the inside into Surtees. But looking left, right, between the live pictures, between the replays here, and that was the move by Behate all the way right around the outside. That's a brilliant angle to see it from. Sat on the outside of Hawthorne Bend, but Harris, you can see, well, that is what 1500ths of a second looks like around Brands Hatch. That is just how close Fletcher is. But Godin is catching Sam bit by bit. He's just chipping away, nibbling at this lead that these two, well, did have. No longer do. It's down to 0.8 of a second. Only, what, a lap or two ago, it was just over a second, about 1.1 seconds in fact. As Fletcher squeezes up to the back of Harris.
Yeah, I don't want to conclusions or anything, but perhaps Harris is driving a bit in his mirrors where he's thinking, I've got track position here and I just need to hold on to this place because his pace is not very good right now. Like you're saying, catching is Godden, and on that last lap it was 0.3 of a second, which is by far the biggest chunk he's taken out. Harris on that last lap 3.5 tenths slower than his personal best lap as well. Yeah, he's not driving at 100% is the way Vitsley Racing team driving. I feel like Fletcher could have gone for a dive by now, but he knows, so he's got 11 more minutes as we see this fairly inevitable move, it feels like, because Wilson's lapping half a second faster than Barb, and this should be easy for the Effect Simulations type driver.
Well represented across this evening's festivities. Obviously, well, they've only got the one car running tonight, but they have got 2 in the Clio Cup. They've got 4 running in Porsche Cup later on. That's about half an hour after this broadcast. Make sure you tune in for that one. Is the well, many people have Super Sundays, but we have Super Sundays here at the Apex.
Super Fridays.
So did I say Monday?
No, you said Sunday again.
Well, I just say so. Oh dear. I'm just so excited,
Come
Sam.
on.
I just can't
We've
even
got a lot.
guess what day of the week
We've
it
got
is.
a long evening. We
Ruined my...
cannot be mixing up days.
I was building it up and just let myself down.
Frantic Fridays.
Oh,
Wilton up to 4th position then, so has been able to get that move done. It was at Clark Curve, which is where we see many moves, including I think Nick Madsen and Matthias Berg managed to pull off a good one in the Porsche Cups when we visited this circuit a couple of weeks ago. Not giving up though is Barb. He's at least forced Wilson to go on the defence for Druids, but every corner that passes should be positive, as we have got a change for the lead. Harris is having to go wide as Fletcher sent it up the inside. It looks like it's into Surtees, but it should be Harris with the better straight line speed, and he is able to just about pull ahead before heading into the stop end.
Don't discredit Jack Godden. Look how close he is. He's squeezing up to the back of them as they go side by side. Godden tries to get his nose in up the inside of Fletcher. Can't get it done. Fletcher's having to go defensive. This is helping Harris out, because now all of a sudden Fletcher's got something else to think about. And look, he's trying to move left, he's trying to move right. Godden just trying to manoeuvre Fletcher around, but cannot quite get it done. So they bump across the curves through Surtees onto the brakes, hook it up, use that camber to launch yourself off the exit. They've all run a bit wide except for Godden. He's the only one who's more hooked up at this stage. Half a second. Covers our top 3. Will it all end in tears? Well, we're going to have a great finale as they come across the line. Harris leads from Fletcher. Godden, as you can see right now. Wilson, 4th, up 14 places after starting from the back. Barb, Behate, Talasco, your leader in AM. Scott Malcolm, that's incredibly close. Bar Quitnan as well involved in that one. Then got Pudica, Modos, Gibb. Walsh, who's 13th overall, currently 3rd in class. And Plist, Behate, Heredia, Hedgecock and Flodman, who sadly retired on lap 1. They all run wide, using that lovely bit of concrete patches there on the exit of Graham Hill Bend.
And that was Kreutzenen getting past Malcolm, but Malcolm now, well, I thought he was going to go for an attack on Kreutzenen. It's actually just defending from Pudikum, who of course is on the comeback after that spin into his teammate earlier on in the race. And Pudikum now up to 9th place. So Malcolm sort of losing those 2 places quite naturally, hasn't really done anything wrong there, and he'll be waiting for them to get past Talasco. And if Malcolm can stay tight, that might be his best chance in order to win this amateur race. But I think Malcolm, thinking about the championship, and well, no, just finishing 1 place behind Talasco would be a good effort, would take the lead of the championship. If it ended like this, would the Scottish driver? As Harris, yeah, he's sort of learning where he needs to defend now, but I think it will be into Druids. If we see a move from Fletcher, I think it will be Druids or Surtees. Surtees who take such a late apex, so it's very tricky to cover him.
You see right now the drivers' iRatings and their safety ratings. See Godden based on that, really punching above his weight against Harris and Fletcher. Velasco's really overperformed the AM driver, currently 7th overall. And also, interestingly, top 10 inverted, so Scott Malcolm, the AM driver, will start from pole in race 2 as things stand at the moment. Because Harris, if he carries on to win this one, he will start from 10 if they're all inverted in between.
Might see a lunge here from Harris, approaches from Fletcher.
A little think about it there, didn't he? Just see him wiggling the car. Just trying to keep Harris guessing here. But I think Jack Godden, currently 3rd in this line, he's in the power position, because wherever there's a gap, he can pick up a place, maybe even 2 in one go.
As Talasco has got past Bahait, which is not something that I was anticipating. So Talasco making his way back past then. Bahait with a slightly slower lap that last time around, lost 0.4 of a second. He's trying to come back. Talasco needs to think about the long game here. Well, they both need to think about the long game, but it is Andrea at a corner that he lost a position earlier on. This time he's gaining it, and he is up into 6th position. That timing and that timing tire is looking very strong for him right now. Bahait down to 7th, and Pudikum was also able to get past Koitsinen in all of that. Malcolm dropping back a bit, so Talasco's amateur race win looking much stronger.
I do love Mark Fletcher's quiff. I say with a lot of hair envy. I know you're not full like his challenge son, but yeah. Clearly cut above the rest. There you go. I knew there was going to be a pun in there somewhere as he's in the top 3. But I'll tell you what, it was half a second that was covering our top 3. I mean, it's dipping. It's naturally, you know, by the time it sort of balances itself out, it's probably closer to 4 attempts covering our top 3 than absolutely anything. But a surprising one though, Jack Wilson sits climbing through the standings from last all the way up to 4th. He's not been taking any time out of these guys. I know they have, you know, slipstream to an extent and pushing each other along, but it's like he's plateaued, or maybe just taking a bit too much out of his size too early on, as we've got, what, just over 4.5 minutes left in this race.
I think these tyres can last for a while, so I doubt he would have taken too much out of them. And it is odd as well, because it's a little bit in every sector, which indicates that he's just playing slower. Yeah, considering that how good Wilson was in qualifying, we didn't really get to see him much in the race at that Ocon because he was so sort of disrupted. Yeah, I am surprised he's not getting more, but maybe he's just relaxing in that 4th place. Yeah, I'm not going to catch up to these guys. I'll just take it easy and save my energy for race 2. It's quite an intense circuit, of course, this Brands Hatch track. As well, just further down the order, Heredia's got past Clist. And Walsh is with these guys as well. Clist and Walsh, inseparable, started next to each other. They are still next to each other.
And right now, Clist, this is the battle for 3rd in AM right now, Sam, between Clist and Walsh. It's advantage Clist in the Olympus esports Clio. There's well front, there's contact, oh no, and he's around Harrison. This is giving Godden the lead.
Well, you were saying how he was in the prime position, and he was. Harris sent it, and we so often see collisions at Druids. I imagine, apologies, Fletcher sent it, and then Harris, I imagine, has probably taken an early apex, moved across a bit earlier than what the Altitude Esports driver was anticipating. And then there was contact between the 2 of them, and Godden needed to do absolutely nothing, just take his normal racing line, and he's got a 2.2 second lead.
Wow. You could feel it brewing, especially as that clock was ticking down. As you see right now, Odicum all over the back of Behate. Likewise, but Kuitnan also, he's been in the shot. I mean, this is very reminiscent to what we've just seen up front for these top 3. It's going to be tight. So they practically hold hands all the way through Hawthorne Bend, and they're still side by Sam down the Derek Minter straight.
Yeah, I thought he was going to have that one. Puddicombe looks like he was on the pound much earlier, but I think really scrubbing a lot of pace when he was having to pick up a lot of understeer. This time though, he has been able to get past things out. Sterling's the next one, and nothing needed to do too much there for the Altitude Esports Joe. So continues to make his way up. That would be 4th position now on the reverse grid.
So let's take a little look at a replay of exactly how things unfolded down into Druids. And you called it, Sam. You called it.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure. It really depends, I think, if Fletcher was alongside. Or at what point did Fletcher get alongside? I guess it's like the big thing when it comes to that one. If he was behind all the way until contact, then he doesn't really have much of a leg to stand on. If he was alongside all the way pretty much to the apex, then it should have been Harris to give him more space. But Fletcher's still behind Harris, and it's very possible that we might see this all over again, because we have still got one more lap to go after this.
We have indeed, Sam. Well, history repeats itself down at Druids. It's going to be a clean pass. Will it happen somewhere else, or are they just going to remain as they are? A lap and a quarter left to find out. As you see just how much they're pushing these cars. They bounce across the curve. As interestingly, Malcolm's just dropped outside the top 10. Modus has got past him, headed up into 10th. The crucial spot, mind you, those two are trailing places left, right and centre right now. So here's Quitting. He's in 9th, so that he's still onto the back of Behate and Puddicombe. Oh, Malcolm's dropped 2 places here, so I think he's come off track. And that's put pay to his chances of finishing inside the top 10, Sam.
Yeah, it was, and held on to it for 90% of this race, but it's in the last 10% that it's undone for him. And it's just like we are only going to have the one amateur driver in the top 10, just as we saw last time out at Okayama as well. White flag being waved, and still Harris was not able to get past at Julia's corner, so he will have to do an alternative move, like you were saying earlier on. Bahait being caught by Koizen, and Bahait just falling down the order as this race has gone on. I'm not. I guess Bahait just had a really good start, didn't he? He's still up 3 places from his race start. Thought he might even have damage, but I think he just nailed the race start, and then his pace hasn't been good enough to back it up. As here comes Fletcher. He's going to have to do it the hard way. He's going to have to go around the outside at Hawthorne Bend, but we certainly know that he's capable of doing so.
Signed out, Sam. Is he going to squeeze his car around? But Harris saw it coming. He moved off to cover the racing line. Open the corner up for himself. He doesn't want to jeopardise his own exit. So here we go, just hooking the car up, kissing the curbs. Oh, Harris has run a bit wide, and there's a flash of the lights there from Fletcher.
I think he's conceding there. I think Fletcher's like, all right, mate, there's no need to go 10 metres off the circuit. I'm not going to pass you anyway. I think he's happy in 3rd place as Fletcher. Maybe feeling bad about the incident earlier on as well, possibly, and doesn't want to fight him. I think that was more of a conceding rather than an angry flash.
It's round the final corner. Comes Jack Godden. He will take the victory here in race 1. And out of Cantor as well, nearly 3 seconds clear with a flash to the lights. He takes victory. Harris picks up 2nd. Fletcher's going to come across the line in 3rd. Wilson looks like to pick up a comfortable 4th. There he is for effect. Heading around the final corner. He takes the checkered. Right, whatever positions. There's Luke Barb. There's Telasco. He's going to beat up Puddicombe. There's another race the line behind them. Bahait and Quittenan. And I think Bahait's just got over Quittenan.
Yeah, and Modos being caught by Gibb in the closing stages here. Gibb 4 seconds faster on that last lap. So Modos must have collided with Malcolm then, because they both had a very poor lap. Malcolm had a worse lap. But Modos does hold on for P10, and that will be reverse grid pole for him.
Wow. What a race. And we've only just got going. We've still got another race to come, but we've got, well, 4 races of Porsche Cup late on for you here this evening here on Apex Racing TV. Make sure you stay tuned for that one. That's going to be a dramatic, to say the least. From the iconic Monza as well, Sam. Can't wait for that one to begin.
Yes, going to be very fun, as here are the results of race 1. Gordon 2.9 seconds clear. It doesn't really tell a fraction of the story in reality, because he was in 3rd place for most of that race and didn't. Well, to be fair, Gordon had a very good start, and that put him in position to take advantage of that crash. But he will be delighted with that one, and he will not be far off the championship summit as well after that race result. Then in 2nd place it was Harris, Fletcher, Wilson, Barb, Telasco in 6th place. Looked to be dropping down in the early stages, but then just came back and had fantastic pace in the 2nd half. Puddicombe, Bahait, Koitinen and Modos running out the top 10, and then Gibb, Malcolm, Herodier, Clist, Walsh, Hedgecock, Bahij and Flordman, who we didn't really see 13 laps down. He will not score points.
Welcome back, and well, we have a little poll up in the chat. Make sure you go and vote as to who was at fault for that turn 2 incident into Juris. Was it Harris, the red car? Was it Fletcher, the white car? It's pretty even, Sam. Although I'm sure you'll say to me, no, it's not, Tim, because it's 60-40.
Yeah, I'd say that's fairly even. Currently 3 votes to do for Harris being at fault for that one. He was the car on the outside for that incident, which is slightly unusual. So yeah, let us know what you think in that one. Fortunately, that might not be the end of that rivalry for the season, and certainly not for tonight, because as we see the grid, which is the exact same results as the results for race 1, apart from the top 10 being inverted, they are next to one another. Once again, Fletcher and Harris are in that 8th and 9th. I think generally that 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th are probably the 4 fastest drivers out on circuit, Tim. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they can all get through to the front in one pack and all in one shape.
That is the interesting part. For me as well, is 12th place, Scott Malcolm. He needs to follow those guys through. I mean, Connor Gibb as well. I mean, let's face it, those top 3 got away because Gibb came off track in that incident. So, I mean, it did a cracking job to recover all the way back up to 11th. So, we didn't truly see what pace he had. What can Malcolm do? Can he follow him through to take the victory now? Let's find out. Here come the lights. Let's get ready to go racing yet again, because race 2 from Brands Hatch is off. We are underway as Modos leads us down to turn 1. How long can he hold on to the lead? Likewise, Talasco in 5th. The AM driver is currently... Oh, someone's in the wall. That is Wilson. And that answers your question, Sam.
Yeah, that was one of them gone then. And that was 3 wide with Fletcher and another driver.
Jay Walsh, I think, is the other driver who was involved in that one, Sam.
I think Walsh was involved in a separate one. I think he was much further back down the order was that driver. As look at Modos sprinting away, already 9 tenths of a second clear. No changes in the top 5 so far. There's been a fair few changes behind that, but so far in the top 5, no changes until Kimber Haight gets past Mikko Koitsinen. We've got a driver on the grass as well, losing a lot of time. Talasco. I think he was almost trying to get out of the way there, scared to rejoin the circuit, and it's lost him 4 or 5 places.
Secondly, well, I said the rallycross line. The rallycross track is nowhere near that part of the track as Heredia looking to make amends for race 1 of the evening, as Puddicombe's just got past Koitinen, and well, they're all scrambling and clambering all over one another right now as Fletcher already up into 3rd. That's a great start for him. Godden coming through too, as that's another car. That's Hedgecock, I think, on the grass.
Yeah, that was Puddicombe on the grass, and that was where exactly the same position that he was in race 1 as well. Much better outcome though than in race 1 when he spun into his teammate. As that's a send there, that was a little bit of contact, I think, from, was that Talasco making contact with the back of Harris, I believe, but they all got through it cleanly as Puddicombe covering one of those places against Gibb, and unfortunately Wilson back to the pits after that first lap crash. He has not had the luck so far this season.
Gibb not able to follow Harris, Godden, Fletcher through. See what a cracking view back to this battle behind him. Puddicombe, Talasco, Gibb, Lloyd Barb as well. Haven't really seen too much from Barb so far this evening. What can he do in race 2 of this evening? Well, he's really vying for a strong position well inside that top 10. There's a battle up here. This is for second, and Fletcher sent it in, gets the job done into Surtees. But hey, with that compromise on the exit, compromised line on the exit, could lose another place to Godden here, Sam.
Yeah, will Bahate fight this one where he's tried to pick up the drops onto the grass. He goes, that is aggressive drive, but you can absolutely see the logic there. He just desperately wants the outside, doesn't want to have to risk it by going on the outside of Hawthorne Pen. And these cars have got so much pace when they go onto the grass. He was able to do it, and Jack Godden up into 3rd place. He is not wasting any time. He wants 2 races tonight, as Heredia and Barb are alongside. That's way too wide though for Heredia. Puddicombe has had an issue further up. He rejoins the circuit almost, and from an already wide line Heredia, he had to go almost completely out to the wall in order to avoid the crash. And now we've got another car in the wall. That's Gibb.
Oh no, Connor Gibb. Well, it goes from bad to worse for the No Limit Sim Racing driver. He's about to lose places to Heredia. Yes, Clist as well all over him, likewise Flodman, but further up Modos is now under a lot of pressure. Look at that. Godden and Fletcher all over Modos' back. And is he going to defend this one? No, because Fletcher's through and Godden's instantly going to form the train and foot stream straight past. And that's how to lose 2 places in one corner.
He might even lose 3 in 2 corners because Behate is very close behind, and now he's going to send it in way too deep. He hits the gravel. His car has enough grip on the gravel to avoid the wall at least, but Janos Modus will be frustrated with himself there, getting flustered by the 2 cars storming past him, and like I said, the pressure from behind as well, and completely misses braking point.
Peyton Harris really, really into that fight right now. As we look back from Hedgecock, that is Luke Barb and Scott Malcolm behind him. Malcolm, well, he's in the same position as he was last race at this point, 10th.
Yes.
And that's where he stayed. Hopefully he can close this one out and have a better final lap compared to the last race. He's deserving of a decent result, is Malcolm, but Quicknan up front, battling away here with Telasco, your leader in AM, and I mean the fight that Telasco has put up so far, this race meeting, I mean, it's been head and shoulders above anyone in this class.
As Koitsinen, just as he pulled away, had a crash at Dingledale. Look at the send from Pudicum. He's on his 3rd comeback, it feels like, of the night. That was a very solid move to be able to get past there. And then also behind them is Flodman. Great to see him back in the race after not really seeing him for the entirety of race 1. Pudicum, no! Callum's having a nightmare.
Well, I'll tell you what, Cliss saw that one coming and just backed out of it, allowed him to go straight on, and then just dipped up the inside. Meanwhile, oh, Hake getting squirrely there as Harris just giving it a bit of a love tap from behind. But look at that from the Belgian driver. Just completely saw that one coming, let Harris run it in deep. There's lockups in front. Fletcher and Gordon, they're scrapping. Meanwhile, Behate and Harris are all over one another.
I imagine Fletcher's just saying to Gordon, wait, just don't go for a move. We can pull away from Harris, because if they are fighting like this, Harris is going to have a great chance. He'll send it undoubtedly into Surtees. That will be very nicely done for him. Just needs to get stopped on the apex. And Gordon, has he been able to get past Fletcher's got a bet to exit? This is totally pointless fighting. I don't know why they're fighting this. I don't know why Fletcher doesn't just let Gordon go, honestly, because he does seem arguably faster as well. But this is going to turn into a 3-way battle rather than a 2-way battle,
Well,
basically.
Sam, exactly the same argument about Harris and Behate, because that, well, these two, well, they're still scrabbling there, and Fletcher onto the grass and looking really squirrely as it, wow, look at how close he is, practically pushing Gordon through the corner, and that's allowed Harris and Behate to close up. This is what they should have done earlier. They saw these two fighting, they should have worked together, and this would have been a 4-way fight for the lead rather than 2 groups of 2. But finally, Harris and Behate just getting their act together there, stopped fighting, and they've closed instantly up onto the back of Fletcher and Gordon.
Yeah, it is certainly a 4-way fight now, but I'm not sure if Behate's necessarily got the pace to keep up. We saw him drop back quite quickly earlier on in race 1, so he'll do very well to keep in touch. If he can stay within half a second of lap, I think that would be a good effort from the Belgian driver, as we've got some replays of earlier on. And this was the battle going through turn 1, and how the race leader was just able to absolutely sprint away Janos Modus with a fantastic start.
I'd love to know what happened to Wilson in the background there. I mean,
here we go.
Well, there you go. Oh,
so that,
wow.
And it's just so
It's not pincerted.
And that was a separate one for Walsh.
That's how they both ended up into the gravel.
And then this one was Pudicum, I think, going wide.
Yeah, that's where he took the lawnmower line, wasn't it? It was on a different simulator, maybe lawnmowing simulator rather than iRacing there. Just in live pictures, Gordon, Fletcher and Harris all over one another still.
Oh, and that was the spin then for the No Limits driver. Or
Gibb.
It was a Gibb.
Gibb earlier.
And that was the secondary incident for Pudicum. And of course, having to take evasive action was Modus just behind, and it was Modus going wide once again. Apologies, I think the one before was Heredia, wasn't it? And then that was Modus going off at Druids. And then the big dive and the fantastic cutback from Behate as Harris sends it in.
Talking of Behate, I mean, he has dropped back a little bit right now from this top 3, just working together and extending their lead over him. Gap around about 1.6 seconds, but it's almost like after the earlier infighting and quarrelling, they've all decided, right, okay, we need to and pull away. Let's make this a three-way fight rather than a four-way. You see the lap time differences and how the gap has grown and shrunk there.
Yeah, so cutting it down from 1.1 seconds was the most it was, and down to 4.5 tenths to a second now. I think Fletcher is the most passive out of these guys. He's thinking the least racer. You saw how he really didn't send it on Harris much at all in that race one. Obviously, they did make contact, so when he did sense it, it was not a clean move. But he waited about 10 minutes before actually going for that move, and then at the end of the race, he didn't even try to get past Harris. So I think Fletcher is quite happy to sit in second place. Harris won't be happy to sit in third place. So you don't want to be third with a lap to go. You want to be in second with a lap to go, so you can actually have an attempt at a move. So I don't think Fletcher can leave this one too long before pulling the trigger and getting back past Jack Godden. But great to see Godden have the pace, because he didn't have the same pace as Fletcher last time out at Okayama, but tonight he absolutely does.
See Fletcher just run a little bit wide there to correct himself as to head underneath the bridge there through the final turn to down the Bremen straight. It's not truly a straight here at Brands Hatch.
And you can see, so in the bottom corner there, just the pace of the top speed of the drivers. A little bit slower for Godden that time around. Of course, that toe for Fletcher and Harris helping them out a bit. When we go to Monza, apologies, Spa, for the next round, these shows should be just going over 200 Ks, which is pretty much as fast as these clears can go before we max out in fifth gear.
Just clipping the curves there. Half a second separating those three. Pretty much it's like they were at this stage last race. It's further down through the field, we see Fletcher's teammate Hedgecock here, one of the three altitude esports cars that we have with us this evening. He's engaged in a battle with Lloyd Barb as the head of him. This is a battle over 8th right now. I mean, Hedgecock, one of the drivers really able to capitalise from all the craziness early on, plus making his own overtakes. He's up 7 places. It's a cracking start. I know we're just over half race distance, Sam, but even so, Hedgecock's in need of a good result, and maybe this is his decent result, coming his way and a return to form.
Yeah, he's been ever so unlucky so far this season. Okayama got wiped out, I think, at the start of race 1, which very much debilitates the rest of the evening because you have to start low down in race 2, and pretty much the same tonight, where again he had a bad start to race 1, got taken out by his own teammate, and playing catch up ever since then. So yeah, whilst fighting for 8th is better than it was 10 minutes ago when he qualified up in P5. He would have been hoping for a lot more. He would have been hoping to battle with these guys. Honestly, I think he would have had the confidence that perhaps he could have done something like that. Shout out to SDK Gaming, by the way, of the providers of our overlay that you see up on screen. Lots of different designs that you can have for your overlay, including the WEC overlay, which we use in the Apex Racing League Prototype Championship, and also the ARL Formula Renault 3.5 overlay. SDK also providing live timing. You can sync up your commentators' cameras to your broadcasters' cameras as well, making it ideal for streaming, and you can use it for a heads-up display as well for whilst you're racing, with a fuel calculator and all the information you need whilst you are battling out on track. So do check out sdk-gaming.co.uk in order to get yourself a subscription, as we are now over 12 minutes into the race.
So we look back from Godden, Fletcher and Harris. Just calm down a little bit. See, they're all know exactly how things played out last time as Godden's run wide, and all of a sudden Fletcher seizes the opportunity and sneaks his way through, and well, was that a bit of contact? Harris could even snatch the place from Godden.
Crashed as well. The Hates crashed in the background, changed for second place with Harris going through. Godden will be really kicking himself there. That was just a lack of concentration there from Godden. Wasn't under much pressure. There was no attackers. Modos is now off, so I think Behate has gone off, rejoined, maybe sat on the apex, and Behate had to take evasive action, and Behate, who I thought was taking evasive action, no, sorry, yeah, that was someone else, but anyway, yeah, Behate basically very annoyed in 6th place, and Model's very annoyed in 7th place.
Well, Sam, from looking at our event view in SDK Gaming, as you mentioned it earlier on, you can see that Behate's come back on the track, and then Modos has pretty much instantly left the track, so clearly something has happened between those two. As Hedgecock slips it up the inside of Lord Barb, he's got it done finally. That's him up into 8, but Barb, the Frenchman, just instantly sneezes, seizes even. Seizes. Got there in the end, didn't I? That's it, done. But not dusted by any stretch of the imagination. We have only got 6 minutes left. 6 minutes, Sam. Could Fletcher close this one out? It would be 2 wins so far this season for him.
And another poll as well in the YouTube chat, and please do answer it before the race ends. Who's going to win this race 2 of the evening? Fletcher, Harris, or Godden? It's going to be one of these 3, unless there's a cataclysmic clash between the
well, obviously, I know you've seen what happened, obviously, in the aftermath, but last week, no, the weekend before, at Virginia International Raceway, BAR, in the F4 series. Top 3 were clear in its exact same situation, and they came together in the final corner of the final lap.
They did, however, they didn't have a 7.5 second lead on that occasion. It would have been close if it weren't for that. And I'll do what's find. Well, I guess you can. So here comes Godden. Oh, he's locked up, and now he's going to be extremely wide there. Godden's going to have to do a lot of catching up. And that was, again, I've been really complimenting Godden's race car, but just a couple of mistakes in this race. First going wide at Hawthorne Bend, and then now going wide at Paddock Hill.
Well, you say that, as literally as you said that, Sam, Fletcher then locked up in a big plume of tyre smoke. He ran in a bit too deep into Drury's. Flyer's not quite able to capitalise on that one, so let's take a look at some replays as well. Things are slightly calmed down here. And that's how Godden lost the lead.
Yep, good opportunistic drive there from Harris. Really drove smart there, heads up drive, and didn't get flustered when he saw the opportunity to just took his racing line as normal. That was Behate spinning round, and then you're going to see him rejoin based on the apex, I guess. Modos is frustrated with that one, but honestly I don't really know what Behate needs to do right there. I mean, he's not understeered out. Yeah, I think that's probably just a racing incident for that one. As we tune back in with live pictures, Heredia now with Hedgecock and Barb. Hedgecock being able to get past Barb though, and we wait to see if he can start to pull away, but that batting has really cost him. It's allowed Modos to get some 4.5 seconds up the road.
Just all in this world of craziness we've experienced in race 2. Telasco, the AM driver, is currently 4th overall, Sam.
Yeah, very under the radar, and I think he's got the pace on Kreutzner as well, because Kreutzner started ahead of Telasco. I don't think Kreutzner is going to get back past. I think this is going to be a 4th place that Telasco will keep to the end.
Telasco did finish in front of Kreutzner by a few places, I think about 4 places in race 1. There is the Italian of VRGT. Looking comfortable right now, but no. Can be lost in an instant. 3 minutes left on the clock here from Brands Hatch. What's the latest on the poll, Sam? Who's taking it? Who's taking the victory here?
Fletcher. 71% of people think he is. No one's saying Godden, although Godden is getting somewhat close to these drivers again. Here comes Harris. So Harris wants to get it now. I thought he might leave it another lap, but he wants to get past right now. He might even get his nose ahead before they get on the brakes for Hawthorne Bend, but he will do very well to pass Mark Fletcher. He's got plenty enough speed. But in these cars, you've got to be ever so careful about the cutback. The cutback is so powerful. If you can get on the power half a second faster than your opponent, you can slip underneath that. That's probably the most common move that we see in these cars. And so Fletcher can't just defend the inside line into every corner. He's got to make sure that he's got it on the apex every time, as he's run wide but didn't lose too much speed there. That was a good recovery from Fletcher, but it hasn't exactly helped his cause.
Sam, I'm getting deja vu. Look at the time on the clock as we come through final corner. Here we go. Is it going to be history repeating itself? Nobody voted for Godden in the poll, but this is exactly where he was this time last race. It's onto the brakes, through Paddock Hill, down Pilgrim's Rise, and then back up again. But I'm not sure Harris is going to be close enough to make a move. Godden has a look up the inside of Harris, can't quite squeeze it, and Harris is locked up. He runs in deep. That allows Godden to come alongside, who squeezes him wide, and Harris has to succumb to the advances of Jack Godden.
Well, I was really surprised by that one. That's brilliant work there from Jack Godden, and how it's so just concentrated on the race leader. He will be thinking, how have I been mugged right there? Because what that was a total mugging, caught him by surprise. And Jack Godden, now the number one behind Fletcher, and Harris is in between a rock and a hard place. He wants to win this race. If he goes for a move here, they will lose any chance at catching up to Fletcher. But obviously, he doesn't want to finish third.
Really faded in the pole. Want to change your mind? Jack Godden is in full attack mode. He's picked off one in Harris. Can he pick up another? Position still up for grabs, up and down through the field. Heredier, Barb scrapping it away. Hedgecock's did a cracking job just to pull away from those guys. Meanwhile, out front, Fletcher still leads from Godden, and Harris running out of corners now is Jack Godden down through Serlings. Clearways, final corner, but Godden runs wide. Can Harris come back alongside? I don't think he's going to be close enough to do so. This is Fletcher's now as he comes through the final corner. Oh no! Are they going to make it across the castle? They aren't, Sam. Well spotted. I tell you what, I thought it was going to be... There you are, white flag. Well spotted, Sam. I thought they were going to make it across the line before the timer ran out.
Yeah, and iRacing are always very strict about that as well. You often cross the line with a couple of seconds to go and still have to check a flag. I think Fletcher's got this one regardless, because Godden is starting to go defensive now against Harris, and with 0.4 of a second to catch with no obvious overtaking spots as well. As long as Fletcher keeps it on the circuit, which we haven't necessarily seen him be prolific at so far as this race 2 has progressed, he should be alright. And in fact, he's even extended that gap up to 4.5 tenths a second. Takes a slightly arcing line. And when I say arcing line, I mean a wide line. That wasn't a good line. And he's lost 1.5 tenths. And Godden will be within 2 tenths when they get into the second sector for that.
Hawthorne. You can see the different lines there. Fletcher a lot more looser at the rear, trying to oversteer the car almost in. Bouncing across the curve through Westfield, through Dingledale. Next up is Sheen. I'm not sure Godden is closing enough, or even at all. Well, no, he is closing at all. Barber's got past Heredier. Flash the lights from Godden. He's
going to
close.
send it. He is going to send it.
But can he make it 2 wins from 2, Sam? Let's find out together. Fletcher goes defensive, and the bit of a fake there to try and get the move done, trying to sneak his way through on the run to the line. This is what it's going to come down to. Can he get it done? But Fletcher shuts off his advantage, and Fletcher's going to pick up 2 victories from 2 race meetings this season.
And back to the championship summit as well, Mark Fletcher. And it's a win apiece for the pair there. Harris will be disappointed with 3rd place as Telasco finishes top of the anti-drives. Once again, Coisino was very close towards the end but wasn't able to do anything with it. Hedgecock pulling away from Barbie was able to get back past Heredier after an issue earlier on. Malcolm will be close in 11th but wasn't able to do anything with it. But Fletcher did not look at all fantastic out there, honestly. Dare I say, I think he was the 3rd fastest in that race. But he didn't make as many mistakes as Godden did, who gave up that race lead, and Harris just being caught unawares by Godden on that penultimate lap to lose that 2nd place.
Wow. What a race. It came down to literally the run to the line in the end. Fletcher picks up that one. You're going to have a sit down on the sofa. I think we've deserved a break of that. Oh, here we no. Let's have the results first. Mark Fletcher, he takes victory. Godden 2nd. Harris run out your podium. Telasco, best of the rest, and your winner in the AM category. A great 4th place for him in race 2 of round 2. Crittenden is in 5th, but hey, disappointing from him to come home 6th. He was right up there initially with Fletcher, Godden, and Harris. Let's not forget, with Modos started on pole at the end, only good enough for 7th. Hedgecock, great drive from him. He's up 8 places, your highest position gainer. He's into 8th with Barb and Heredier running out your top 10. Then it's Malcolm and Vahej to complete your podium in AM, 11th and 12th respectively for those two, with Jay Walsh, Connor, Gibb. I mean, gutting meeting for Gibb. Cliff finishes one last down. Then we're into the retirements with Flodman and Puddicombe. We lost on all the way back on lap 3. And Jack Wilson, we sadly lost on the opening corners of lap 1. Well, we'll head to a quick... Well, we head to a break. We're showing some highlights of exactly what the great action we have waiting to see here today from Brands Hatch. We will see you on the other side when we're back in the studio to have a chat to some of our drivers. See you shortly. Welcome back, and well, just off air, we were talking about what we've seen today. Let's recap some of those points. Connor Gibb, what a disappointment for him. This is definitely going to be his drop round. I mean, if there was bad luck, then he had everyone's, I think.
Yeah, and just a frustrating round for a few guys. I think Adam Hedgecock as well would be sort of in that category as well. Hedgecock's had a couple of those rounds so far this season. It's not easy to get through those lap ones clean. Even Jack Wilson, we saw, got involved in that as well in race 2. So you're going to have these rounds. You're not going to have 13 clean races. You just hope that when you have 2 in the first 2 meetings, that's it for the rest of the season. That's your bad luck for it. But yeah, you got to take it on the chin really, and we wait to see how they can bounce back for future weeks. But it didn't deny us having a couple of great battles. That's what we want to do. We always want to have a fight for the lead, and we had that throughout both 20-minute races.
Oh, we did. I mean, it's interesting you say about Wilson and Hedgecock there. Wilson had a brilliant race 1, and then it all fell apart for him in race 2. Hedgecock, in contrast, had a shocking race 1 and then a great result in race 2. So between them, if they were just to merge them together, then they'd actually be onto a bit of a winner. And it's such a shame for those two, because they've definitely got a lot of pace, especially Wilson.
Yeah, and of course we should remember as well, Wilson started from all the way from the back in race 1. So when you say like a good result, of course you mean in terms of considering, he was starting from the back, but he will be thinking he wants to be getting pole position and race win in race 2 as well. So he'll still be very disappointed with that. Only 1 drop score as well, and he's had 2 bad rounds really now as Wilson. So he's got a lot of catching up to do compared to the likes of Fletcher, who's finished on the podium at every round so far this season, and Godden. He got a 4th in race 1, but still 4 top 4s for him is still obviously very prolific.
And it's all about consistency, isn't it?
Sure it is. Well, shall we have a chat?
I think we should.
With a couple of our drivers?
Well, I'll let you go first, Sam.
Excellent stuff.
I'm feeling generous today. Feeling good this Friday.
First up in the interview room, I think we have Mark Fletcher available for a chat. Mark is here. Congratulations, Mark. Let's start with race 1. And the incidents. We had a poll. The viewers liked you. They didn't think it was your fault. What was your perception of it?
I tried it going into turn 4 beforehand. I was like I was so close behind him for that long. I 100% now know how to spell Harris. Forwards, backwards, and inside out. Like, I was literally watching Brands Hatch through his rear window. And you know how I race. If I'm going to go for it, I want to make it clean. Hint the reason why I waited, but it's it was one of the only 2 passing places. But yeah, I've already apologised to him, as you can probably see in the Discord. But yeah, not how I wanted to end the evening. But yeah, it was nice being the slowest of 3.
And then, yeah, that race 2, once again just storming your way up through the order. Then you had that quite tight battle with the driver in second place at the time, Jack Godden. What was sort of the mentality there? Because it felt as though, from what we were watching, you guys, that Godden was sort of fighting you when maybe you shouldn't have been fighting, and maybe you should have just led, you know, the whole time so that Harris didn't get involved. I mean, what was your mentality at that point? What were you thinking of Jack as, like, just to, you know, hold back for a bit so it turned into a 2-way battle rather than a 3-way?
Yeah, I think we saw it in round 1. If you start fighting up the front, you're going to bring other people in. Jack undoubtedly was the fastest car out on track tonight. I would say it was Jack, Damien and me. But yeah, Jack obviously smelt the win from race number 1. He was going after it again. Again, it was try and get through as quick as we could. But yeah, we all ended up in the same place. And I was like, oh, here we go, race number 2, that's race number 1.
And then how were those last few laps? Because we saw you go a little bit wide on a couple of occasions. Was it getting a bit nervy?
Yeah, I think my tyres were very much in the bin. I really struggled with the fronts in race 2 for some unbeknown reason. But yeah, it's, you know, when there's people behind you, it's tough to keep concentrating. So fair play to everybody that can do it with somebody sat like 0.1 seconds behind them for the best part of 5 laps.
Absolutely. Well, you managed to hold on yourself. Congratulations on another race win, and as well the championship lead as well after 2 rounds. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just all the guys at Altitude. Obviously a little bit of a robust move on Callum, so I'm probably going to have to apologise to him. And all the sponsors, Freem, Finding Speed, Sim Stickers, Grumpy Dad Designs. And he got a bit annoyed with me last week. I didn't thank Loinsy, who is my #1 spotter. And I'd have been in a lot more accidents if it wasn't for Mr. Loins. So thank you for spotting for me, Brian.
Excellent stuff. So you're going to be apologising to Callum. Callum's going to be apologising to Adam, because Callum took out Adam earlier on in the race as well. So just very apologetic for you guys. Congratulations, Mark, on another race win, and we'll see you back next time.
Perfect. I'm off to the manager's room then. Cheers, Sam.
That was Mark Fletcher there, driver for Altitude Esports, as we have Adam Hedgecock next up, and I'll pass him over to you, Tim.
We do indeed. Adam, welcome along. We were saying we were just saying when we came back from the break that a bit of a contrast of 2 races for yourself. The first one just didn't go your way, and then the second one, I'm guessing you must have felt like nothing to lose. I'm guessing.
I tell you what, the start of this season, if I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have had any luck. Like it was crazy. But yeah, second race was refreshing. It was nice to be able to get stuck in and to make some places. That was a very nice feeling indeed.
Yeah, and I think you were joint highest position gainer with actually your teammate, I think, in the end. Fletcher, so it's, you know, a cracking, you know, result for yourself in that way. Just talk us through sort of race 1. I mean, and especially those starts, what it's like being in the midfield around somewhere like Brands Hatch.
I'm shocking at starting these cars anyway. So I went from 5th to like 9th, I think, by turn 3.
I was going to allude to that one. I did clock that one during the commentary as well, how you spun the tyres up and lost a lot of places.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but I mean, Sam will tell you, like, midfield is that's where I preside. I've always been there. So getting stuck in, rolling the sleeves up, and having a good old scrap is that's my bread and butter. I love doing that. So it's not daunting in any way. It's not like it doesn't faze me, but it is tough. Like, take nothing away from that, especially in these cars where you have to drive on the limit, you have to throw it into corners. You do get understeer quite a lot, like oversteer, then understeer. You have to have a lot of faith in those guys around you to make sure that you both get through the corners in one piece.
And so much as saying, Spa next week, a complete and utter contrast in terms of tracks. How are you feeling about that one, sort of heading to Belgium? It's going to be a completely and utterly different challenge.
It will be. Spa's my favourite track, so I'm looking forward to going there, and I am looking forward to having a little snooze along the Kemmel Straight. That will be lovely. and then rallying it back down the hill. It's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully we get a full grid and we can have some nice battles on stream for you.
Oh, definitely. Looking forward to seeing that one. Adam, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to us all?
Yes, I do, but I can't remember off the top of my head, so I'm just going to say all the people that Fletch just mentioned before.
There we go.
Because we have the same sponsors.
There we go. That's nice and easy, and that's how we like it. Well, congratulations, Adam Hedgecock picked up 8th in the end in race 2 there.
Thank you very much.
Well, would you like Scott, Malcolm?
Of course. Scott's joining us.
Didn't even get the option to say, or can I have the honour? But no, go ahead. No,
it's
you
mine,
go on
it's
ahead.
mine.
We're fighting over you, Scott.
Now joins us. Scott, congratulations out there. A couple more podiums in the amateur category. Take us through race 1 first off, because you had some fantastic battles out there. Honestly, across the entire night, it looked like you were constantly side by side with someone else.
Yeah, first race I was trying to catch, what's his name, Andrea, I think it is. It came first. I thought I'll just try and keep up with him, but he was just a wee bit too fast. And Brands isn't one of my favourite tracks, no matter what car it is. I just can't get to grips with it. So I had a look and I seen like 10th spot was like all about 7 seconds behind. So I thought I'll let these two guys through. I'll sit in 10th. I'll try and go for the reverse pole, and I'll get a better chance of getting a race win in the second race. But it didn't quite work out that way.
No, you ended up dropping down to 12th place, which made race 2 a little bit more tricky, but that race 2 as well, you were locked in a very long battle. Just take us through that race 2, because it seemed like you were catching up to a couple of cars ahead right at the end of the race.
Yeah, again, Andrea was away in front, so I just wanted to consolidate second in the arms. Again, looking back and seeing that third place was like 17 seconds behind, and I had Hedge and Juan, I think it was, behind me, so I thought I'll just let them through and I'll just hang on the back of them. I just let them drag me around the track. They were having a couple of comings together. I thought, well, I'll leave it to like the second last lap or the last lap and try and get a top 10. But I'm not going to get myself involved with these guys when third place in arms is about 17 seconds behind.
Absolutely. Well, that mentality has got you into the lead of the championship after the first couple of rounds. We go to Spa next time out. What do you think the slipstreaming is going to be like in this car? Is it very heavy? Are we going to see draft trains at Spa, or is it going to be sort of still kind of isolated cars by themselves?
I think you might see a bit of both. Hopefully not a lot of cars isolated by themselves. I hope that it's going to still be a bit more bunched up. But I think you are going to see a lot of cars isolated. I think. I don't think the draft is that good in these cars. I've not really experienced that yet. But you just got to see what happens. The faster guys will probably have a better idea.
Yeah, we will certainly have a good test for the slipstream when we visit Spa in a couple of weeks. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Scott?
Just all the usual suspects like Ignam Racing, you guys for putting up this series. I know it's a new one for you and see how this pans out, and to all the rest of the drivers as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Scott. Congratulations.
Just over. Okay.
Yeah, just over a quarter into the season. And yeah, I mean, of course, next up, as you were saying before, Spa. And yeah, like Scott was saying, I don't think the slipstream is super powerful in this car. I don't think we're going to see like MX5 type racing, where you have just got, you know, even if you're half a second a lap slow, you can just follow another car around. And we will see some drivers, I think, bouncing the limiter as well, because you can't change the gearing in this car either.
Nope.
But I think it should still be a change up in the racing and a more raceable circuit compared to the fairly narrow circuits that we've visited so far in the form of Okayama and Brands Hatch.
It's going to be fascinating, isn't it? One way or another, especially. But they're going to build a lot of momentum heading down to Eau Rouge, and then up over the hill, Radion. It's going to be maybe a bit of a chug before they, well, head down the Camel Straight. Maldi. It's going to be tight, fast, furious. I just can't see it being anything. I think there's going to be a few corners that they're going to struggle on, like No Name. Always a bit of a struggle, even in like GC3s, where the front end just wants to understeer and wash out. These being front wheel drive, I think it could be a real challenge. So, as much as yes, it's going to be easy. You know, Adam Hedgecock saying earlier, looking forward to having a bit of a snooze down the Camel Straight, but the flip side of the coin, there's going to be some real challenges for the drivers out there.
Yeah, and a mixture as well of high-speed corners and also low-speed, hard braking areas as well. I did a couple of laps, and you actually reach almost your peak speed. These cars max out about 200 kilometers an hour, but because they're like got so little power, like when you're going down a hill, you gain a lot of speed. So you can go into like Lafania at 190 kilometers an hour, which usually is the tightest, twistiest part of the circuit. But just with the way that the car works, the fact that you're plummeting downhill, you can get a lot of speed, almost as much speed as you're carrying through the Camel Straight as well. So yeah, some high speed through that middle part of the lap as well for these drivers to carry through.
Before we finish off here for Clio Cups before, we have Porsche later. Favourite moments from Brands Hatch so far? Well, so far at all today.
I think the biggest moment has got to be the collision between Damien Earnhardt and Mark Fletcher. I think that could be a rivalry that we see throughout the season. I think those two are extremely evenly matched. So I think that's the moment that I will remember, and I will probably go back and watch whose fault that was, because I'm still not 100% sure.
No, I'm not sure either.
I think the stewards will have a tough time deciding who gets the penalty for that.
Well, the voting chat said that Fletcher not at fault, so we'll get to find out if they are correct for sure. But for myself, I think Jack Gordon, just can't discredit him, and well, how he weighed up the situation behind him.
No, it was a very good job, Gordon, and he's a proper championship contender this season.
Definitely going to be interesting. Well, we will see you in a week's time from Spa for Clio Cups. However, coming up in roughly about half an hour's time, it's the Porsche Cup from Monza. Big grids, heat racing, it's fast, furious, frantic action, and that's even when we're not at Monza. Make sure you tune in for that one. We will see you shortly. I've been Tim Cox with Sam Fitzpatrick. Oh well, we'll join us very shortly. Goodbye.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.